So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. So this week, of course, we're talking about AI writing tools, and we're going to really briefly cover how all AI writing tools work. And then we're going to cover more in depth four tools: Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT. And then I'm going to show you how to write a blog post using the help of AI and other examples of what we're doing here with AI writing tools. And then the rest of the week 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions are coming up. So I hope you guys have them on your calendar. And Shanna suggested I have a button where you guys can have that added to your calendar. And I tried to do that, and my mailer program is failing me, but I'm going to try and do that to make it easier for you guys in the future. So, okay, LLMs like ChatGPT and Claude and all these that we're going to go over, they're called AI writing tools because it used to be that's really all you could do with them. And now they are so much more. But their cornerstone is writing of all kinds, and including the writing of prompts, right, to conjure up images and videos and so on. But we're not going to cover the video image parts of them this time. We will next session cover that in depth. But we're just going to get into all the nuances of the writing parts of it. And some of this stuff, you guys, even if you've been using ChatGPT for a long time, there are going to be things you don't know. So just briefly, this is a boring part before I show you stuff. This is the let's learn. What is an LLM? It is basically a large language model, just like it says, and it's trained on vast amounts of data. So the obvious things like the internet and libraries of data and just a lot. And one thing that's interesting is they're not really all of them, all of the companies aren't super transparent about what they're trained on. Like some of them will just say published works. It'll say this, the internet plus published works. It's a little vague. But the thing to know is that LLMs are not programmed like a regular program is. It's not like if then type of scenarios. It's going to be trained on pattern recognition. And one thing, for example, it's looking at vast amounts of pattern recognition. But one of the things that I thought maybe would hit home is, so like a human would know that you wouldn't take a word, you would and end a sentence that way, right? You wouldn't say, you know him better than I thought you'd. Well, nobody says that, right? But so the LLMs know that because they've seen this just vast amounts of data and understand. I mean, that was just a very basic example, but it's just amazing actually what it conjures up based on pattern recognition alone, basically. All right, so what determines the output? Your prompt, of course. The better your prompt is, the better the output's going to be. The context you provide. So, for example, sometimes when I'm writing an email, if I'm like, help me reply to this email, here's what I think I'm going to say, and then it's going to make that better for me. I also include the original email. So if somebody emails me and it's not something I can just hammer out real easy, like it takes some thought or I want to be diplomatic or whatever, so I'm asking ChatGPT to help me formulate the email. I will include the context of the other person's email, so that can matter. And then, of course, the model's training, and we'll get more deeper into what I mean by that. But each model is basically going to have its own, because it's trained on different things, it's going to have different kinds of output depending on that training in combination with your prompt, in combination with the context. So multiple things are going to determine the output. All right, so do LLMs plagiarize? This says not usually. I asked all the LLMs about this, what their thoughts were, and I researched this pretty well. But basically, they don't. And it used to be a big deal where they had plagiarizing checking companies, and like they just don't have that anymore. And it's really because we didn't understand, maybe the general public didn't understand clearly how these worked. And I liken it to, like, say you had the ability to be trained on the whole internet and the whole library of everything, right? You just had all that data. And then if somebody said to you, hey, can you tell me how bricks are made, right? you wouldn't go back and take sentence from this article and the sentence from that to tell me, right? You would just say, here's how they're made, because GPT itself is generative pre-trained transformer. So it's pre-trained, it generates, and it transforms it. It doesn't just take what is and give it back to you. Okay, and then, a lot of people are a little concerned about this, what happens to your input. It's funny too, because I think people are more concerned about it with AI, I don't know why, than they would be thinking, well, a lot of my data is in my emails, which clearly Google has access to, and a lot of my documents are in Google Docs. We're already giving massive amounts of data, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to be careful about what you tell it. And you also can turn the memory on and off on the different platforms. So every platform is different in how they do that, but there is a capability to turn it off if you want to. If you do turn it off, you don't get access to any of your past conversations, which is would be a drag for me. I go back to them all the time. All right, let's get to the fun stuff and look at what we're doing with them. So these are the 4 we're going to talk about today. And they, as you can see, clean, simple interface. And that's actually on purpose because, when AI writing tools started, they wanted it to just be like a clean sheet of paper, like away you go on your clean sheet of paper. And it evolved to pretty much stay that way, except that you can have it be dark mode or whatever. So Perplexity, this is the first one we're going to talk about. And Perplexity is a little bit different than the other 3 in that Perplexity actually isn't exactly its own LLM. It's like a interface on top of other LLMs. So what I mean by that is Perplexity is widely known as a research LLM, research AI capability with Perplexity, deep research. So what it uses is it uses part of ChatGPT, actually. It uses part of Claude, and then it also has its own proprietary internal workings that it's doing, but it's not an LLM per se, but it still deserves a comment because Perplexity is pretty amazing for research. Now, AI and Gemini have both gotten into deep research too, so whether Perplexity still wears the crown in that, maybe that's debatable, but it is really good. So I'm going to show you how that works. First, we're going to take a quick look. The main things Perplexity can do is give real-time answers with cited sources, up-to-date research. It can do coding too. All of them can do some coding. You can get academic responses, and it's trained basically with all the stuff everything else is. I shouldn't say that. I mean, they all have their nuances on what they're trained with, but I'm just saying Perplexity has its basic training, but then it also has much deeper training. So it's going to have research papers and published documents and things that, that are correct, that isn't internet questionable. These are published documents. So let's take a little look-see at how Perplexity works.
Can I ask you a quick question about that then? Is that something you could use, say, for college? Like,
yeah.
could you use that and then it gives you those sources so that way you know they're valid and you could put it, say, in a research paper? Could you cite it?
You could cite it. And in fact, I bet colleges are actually asking you to cite. We've had teachers, like I can't remember if it was in this course I did or something else, but where they're saying they're having students say, yeah, I got this from ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever. I mean, I always say with anything that you're saying is accurate and true, you're going to have to verify it. But more so with the other ones than you would with Perplexity in the way I'm going to show it to you. So I'm going to let me go ahead and go through this. Does that answer your question, Kim? You probably muted yourself, but that's okay. So let's go through. You sign up over here or log in. And then like any of the LLMs, they're going to give you suggestions here at the bottom. just to give you an idea of what you can do. I never need those. I mean, I always know here's what I want to do. So in this case, let's do an example. How does the traffic light work? So I'm going to go ahead and enter that into the chat box area, and you get these three distinct panels from Perplexity. The first one is what you would expect, the answer box here, with the answer to your question. And then over on the right, it's going to give you videos and images and things you can watch to support it. And then at the top, this is the sources of where it got this information. And then all throughout the answer text, you can see the different sources, and you can pop in there and get that information directly if you want more information on that. So now here, let me show you. This is a more high stakes one, right? How does exercise impact high blood pressure? And I want to know for real. I don't want there to be any question that this is a verifiable thing. So I'm going to go to academic. I'm not going to look at the web. I'm going to look at the academic one. And I'm going to ask it that question. I get that same setup here with the answer and then the sources over there. And I can know then that these sources are actual published content. So on the other hand, I could jump away from academic and I could say, give me the social temperature on this. And I'm going to ask it something different. So this time I want to ask the social community, how can I get started making a budget? Everything I've tried so far has failed, and this isn't me, you guys. But so it gives the answer. Right now, it only has Reddit. Reddit is the only one that's kind of tied in, but I know they'll be adding other ones. And so this is really more if you're just trying to get the pulse of what um, social, like what people are thinking, but it's not really like we could be wrong, right? This is just the populace and what they're thinking. All right, so that's basically Perplexity. I'm covering these pretty quickly because there's a lot to talk about when we have 1 hour. So I'm going to jump into Gemini this time. And by the way, for me, I put the big logos on there. This isn't what it looks like. I just put it on there, so that was my attention to be like, okay, we're moving to Gemini. So Gemini, main thing it can do is, again, writing assistance. All of these can do the writing assistance and research. So Gemini just got into doing what they call deep research, and so has ChatGPT. So that's where I'm like, I'm not sure if Perplexity is still the reigning king of research as far as that goes or not, but it is definitely a good one. And if you're unsure about deep research with Gemini or ChatGPT, go to Perplexity. So Gemini is super good at code generation, real-time web search and summarization. So, Gemini is owned by Google. And so when you're Googling and you're like, whatever your question is, and it gives you an AI summarization of it, that's Gemini. That's Gemini under the hood of Google given these answers. Now, Gemini, what I'm going to cover here for Gemini is just like such a small portion of what it actually does. And we'll cover more again, as the sessions go on, we'll go deeper and deeper into it. But Gemini has, its basic level, its basic layer. First, you have free. On most of these, I have free accounts with all of them except for ChatGPT. I pay for it. So Gemini, you can sign up for free, but the thing about them is you don't get a lot. You could do everything with it, but you only get a small portion of things you can do. In other words, the quotas are lower before it's like you can't do any more until tomorrow. Like it just drops you. So then you can pay, and the pro is like $20, just like with ChatGPT, and you get more availability to all the things that it offers. And you can. The thing with Gemini that's kind of cool, I'm not going to get into it because this isn't really the context for it, but you can hook up your Gmail, your Google Docs, your Google Drive, your calendar, all of the G Suite of Google, you can connect to Gemini. So you could actually ask it in a prompt, hey, look through my emails and find an email. I know I was talking to someone, I can't remember the guy's name, but we talked about this, and it would pull that up. So you could see how helpful that would be. You could do things, and tell it, add this to my calendar. So in other words, the AI, Gemini, becomes that conduit for you to kind of navigate around your G Suite products. So
I have a
there,
question.
yeah. I'm like, there's a lot of people who have questions about that usually.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is that gonna search my whole computer or just my Google products?
Only your Google products.
Okay.
Only Google for sure. And you can go deeper in to see how that works. At first, I was like, well, I'm not sure what I think about that. But the more I looked into it, the more I'm like, totally fine. Wouldn't bother me at all. So if that's something you think you want to do, you can go further and look into that. But
Yeah, I actually wanted to search further than that because I use a product that an email product that's not Google, and it's always a pain when I get an invitation to an event via that email because it's not as easy to add it to my Google Calendar.
yeah, you might want to look deeper then into Gemini for that. So I'm not covering it here because mostly I'm trying to cover content creation type
Yeah.
of things, and this is more productivity. But I think it was worth a mention because it is really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a quick look at how Gemini works. This is the main screen. When you sign up, you're going to go over here and sign in. It's going to give you, so here's the suggestions like the other one, like here's some suggestions of what to ask me. They all have that. Over here, you can see your chat history. I, as you can see, haven't signed in, so you can't see my chat history. I'm just showing you the home screen. And then you can do all kind, change your theme if you want. You can that one right above it where it says public links, that's stuff you can publish publicly. You can view your subscription, whether you have a paid plan or whatnot. And again, sign in up there. And I don't think in this video I actually do sign in, but I go ahead and ask it because you don't have to have an account. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it. Oh, and Sharon, this is honor of you. I have a math tutoring business for people of all ages who are struggling with math. Please give me a list of things you can help me with as I run my business. If you need more information from me in order to refine the list more accurately, please also ask me the questions you would like answered. I like doing that a lot. Sometimes like I'll say, hey, give me this thing. And then I'm like, but ask me questions if I didn't give you everything. So go ahead and hit enter. And straight away it does say, yeah, it would help to know I do have a few questions first, but in the meantime, let me give you an idea of the type of things I can do to help you. This is really helpful, you guys, if you've never really tried ChatGPT. I mean, just start asking it, or this is Gemini, same idea. Any of these LLMs, just start interacting with it. And I tell you, one thing will lead to another for sure. So I'm going to ask it to do another one. You click this button for a new chat. And so I click, go ahead, new chat. And it's telling me right here, hey, look, you're not signed in. So if you want a new chat, you're going to lose this one. It's going to just go away into, vapor world. And I'm fine with that. I don't need this. It was just an example. So I say new chat and away we go. So let's ask it one more thing. Briefly explain how Gemini uses past conversation context. When and why should I start a new conversation instead? Also share any Q-tips with a new Gemini user or that a new Gemini user should show. So that was an accident, Q-tips. That was a typo. I didn't even notice I did that until it answered me and told me about my Q-tips. And I'm like, what? So it goes through here then, and of course explains that you have memory within a chat, but that also it will look outside at your other chats for context too. Um, talking about when you should start a new conversation, if the topic shifts significantly, if you're clearing the slate because you just like the chat's not getting it and you're like, let's start over kind of thing, or if you're having trouble or so on. So here's my Q-tips a new Gemini user should know. And I'm not going to go over these. This is really more to show you how to interact with Gemini, just like similar, all y'all who've used ChatGPT, you're going to be like, this feels like nothing new. But a few people are new and haven't seen it. So here's how Gemini shows its sources, and you can click on any of them and it'll take you to the actual file, document, link, whatever that it used to get that information from. And close the sources there just by clicking the X box out. And then the 3 buttons here, this is how you'd copy it if you wanted to go ahead and use that information and paste it somewhere else. If you don't like it, you can say redo and hit that and it would redo it. I'm not going to run you guys through that, but that's basically it. And if you want to see where the sources are for a specific spot in the document, it also puts its sources right there in the document, and you can click and take a look at that. All right, I'm going to do one more thing here with Gemini. And this is just showing a little bit about its search function. So search the web and summarize recent articles comparing ChatGPT and Gemini for business use. Highlight the pros and cons of each, focusing on features relevant to small business owners like content creation, automation, or integrations. So, you know, Gemini is supposed to be the big search tool if you want it, because it is Google, right? So it's going to know all the nuances of it. And so I've sped this up. It did take a little bit longer, and it gives me a ChatGPT versus Gemini chart right next to it. I could export it to sheets if I'm like, yes, this chart is something I want to keep. Then I can do that. And then, of course, it answers the question that I specifically asked it. Give me the pros and cons of each, and there it is. And sometimes, too, it'll give you a little more. It's not doing it here. It is answering my question, but you'll notice sometimes it'll give you more. I don't know if I specifically said, tell me which is right for your small business, but sometimes it gives you more than you need. If I wanted to listen to this instead of reading it, it will talk to me on it. Maybe.
In the evolving landscape of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT and Gemini have emerged as leading large language models, each offering unique strengths for business applications.
All right, so you could see that it was reading right here. Now, is it that? I can't remember if it's Gemini or if it's Claude that will now do the podcast for you. I didn't show it as an example. I could ask it to double check responses. That's what this is showing here. If I had a feeling that maybe it was wrong about something down here, I can share it. I can have it redo it if I don't like it. I can say bad response or good response. I really never use those. I've done it every once in a while if it's like way off, and it'll be like bad response. But way back in the day, I used to do that a little more. And Gemini lets you edit. I thought that was interesting. I never do this either because I will just ask it further down here, but it lets you edit your prompt and start all over if you wanted to, which could be helpful, I suppose, instead of hitting that refresh button. All right, so now I'm going to say, please show me your sources, because I was surprised I didn't see that, actually. It didn't include them in it, but here's the list. Here are all the articles of Google Gemini versus ChatGPT, and we are not short of articles about it, so that's kind of interesting. All right, and then just one more. This I thought is interesting. How to create an artifact, which is just kind of like something you can program. So I said, create a simple HTML and JavaScript random quote generator. I want to click a button and have a motivational business quote appear on the page. And this beyond here said, show your work, basically. So here it is showing the coding of the random quote generator. I can copy that code if I want and paste it somewhere to edit, or I could edit it here. And there it is. So it's showing me, I'm going to click it, get a new quote. So here we go, boom. And that's the Albert Einstein. Let's do, I think I did 3 of them. I could share that if I wanted to, and you see where I'm going back and forth between seeing the code and seeing the preview. So that was just kind of cool little app it did. So that'd be fun for you guys to experiment around with too. If you're like, wouldn't it be cool to have an app that did something? Now, it's kind of basic, probably. Who knows? Keep experimenting, find out. Now, again, if you're on the free plan, you probably can do that once or twice before it's going to give you the boot to have to pay until the next day. It does reset. So I thought I deleted this. I didn't really want to go into it, but it's basically, this is when I was kind of contemplating what Gemini and the Google Workspace apps, how it actually works. And it was just kind of interesting, but I know we're short on time, so I'm not going to go. And we talked about how it integrates with your apps. So I'm going to skip over that one and we're going to talk about Claude. So Claude is our third one that we're talking about today, and Claude's claim to fame is writing. Claude supposedly, and I say supposedly because I've had feedback from other people who are like, no, I really prefer ChatGPT or some other LLM, but mostly Claude is for writers. That's their claim to fame. That's and all the people, because I hang out with not hang out literally, but digitally, um, group that does a lot of blogging, and they love Claude over ChatGPT for sure. So let's take a little look at what it can do. So clear human-like writing and brainstorming. It also does coding. They all do. The nice thing about Claude is if you have something big that you want to summarize or ask it a question about, you know, like you give it this, here's my dissertation, and now let me ask you some questions on it, kind of thing. It's trained again on basically the same stuff. Claude is more for writing. It doesn't generate images or videos, and I think this will show us that. Well, somewhere along here, I show you how it works, and I think we cover that. All right, so happy Thursday, Terry. It's a Thursday today too, so that worked out well. All right, so here you go. Again, with the suggestions of if you don't know what to ask it, here's some suggestions. If you want to write, here are some things. If you want to learn, here are some things. If you want to code, which would be interesting to kind of see what coding things you can do, and so on. So this is a lot, gives you more if you don't know where to go with it. Up here, you could see your chat history, like they all do. They all open and close like that. If you want a new chat, you click that, and this is where we are in the new chat one. This is another way of seeing your chats where you can search your chat history if you want to, a little clearer. And then artifacts, that's what we just made that app. And that was the section we were in to do that. All right, so let's give it a try. Act as an instructor teaching a student how to use Claude AI. First, give a general description of what Claude is and which other LLM is most similar to Claude. Then give a bullet point list of all the things Claude can do for a free user and what the next level upgrade offers. Keep this answer list and its contents brief. It should be a high level overview. So that isn't really a great prompt, to be honest. I was just like typing away. And it's an okay prompt, and it gave me back what I asked for. So it tells me what Claude is, and then it gives me, you know, what it can do on the free tier versus the pro benefits. But as I was reading it, I was like, this isn't really a deep dive. I mean, I could find that on their own website. But one thing I didn't notice, this is the one, I didn't notice if they could do images or video. So I thought, well, you know, let's go ahead and ask it. And I think I go right here. Yep, there we go. What about images and video creation? Can a free user or pro user of Claude do images or video? And so it searched the internet, or actually funny, it's searching the web about itself. And it says, no, Claude does not generate images or video. I bet at some point it probably is going to, because they all seem to pick up the ball and do it. I don't know. If I was them, maybe for branding, I'd make sure I am the top of the writing, but who knows? Okay, so let's say, what can Claude do that ChatGPT cannot do? And again, it all came back to writing, so which is arguable, right? Some people are like, I think ChatGPT does a great job of writing, and so do I. I mean, when they're bragging about things like a larger context window, I'm like, that's, who cares? But I do like Claude. I don't mean to minimize it. I do think it can give some superior output. So Claude is like my second go-to. I use ChatGPT all the time, and then if I don't like how Chat is doing the output, I'll go to Claude and ask it to give me some further output on it. And usually I'm happy with that one. Okay, this was, I don't know what this one is. This is mystery video. I thought this was back to artifacts. Yeah, I guess I'm going into artifacts. This time, instead of creating, so I'm showing you here where I'm underlining, showing you that again, it's giving you some examples of things that you can do in artifacts. And if you want to save your own, they would go there, and that's how you'd save them. So I think, yeah, in this video, I'm going to create a new artifact. Click on that button. Here's all the different things you can do. Oh, I know what this one is. All right, so I'm going to create a document. And this is how I created, partially how I created the document for you to find out where your customers are hanging out. So I say, I'd like to create a worksheet that walks small business owners through steps to help them determine where their ideal audience or potential customers are hanging out. In other words, how can the small business owner find out where to do content marketing for the best reach? I'd like a worksheet of steps the small business owner can take to determine this. So the first thing it does is it puts this together and says, like, let me understand this clearly. Here's what I think we're going to do. Here's the structure, here's the format. So I read that over and I realize that it's also going to give me a buyer persona, and we don't need that because we have something separate. So I tell her, yeah, I like everything, but don't do the buyer persona. Everything else sounds great. So let's move forward. So I go ahead then and give it that prompt. And again, it's going to lay it out and say, all right, based on your changes, now here's what I plan to do. Is this correct? Is this what you want to do? So I'm going to go ahead and read that over. I'm thinking, okay, that looks good. And I say, yeah, go ahead and create it. Because it asked me. That's why I just have to say, yes, please. So you notice it opens then up this again, just like it did with the document where it was programming over here. What it's doing here now is building that form for us. So as I go through and I sped it up real quick, I could see things like this was off, see how those lines are off. There were things that I could see, and also I wanted to go through and make sure the wording was correct. So there were some wording things I changed. And I noticed too, as I was going along, let's see, you'll see it. Oh, right here. So you have, this is like a chart to keep track of things, but it's all compacted, like it's not stretched out into a useful format. So I'm noticing these things, but not a big deal. Okay, this right here where I hit publish, it's saying you can publish it to the public if you want, but I didn't want to do that. I could copy it over here and save it as a PDF, which is basically what I sort of did. I didn't do it here. I had to pull it into another program and fix all those things that were mistaken. So it is to you guys as a PDF. It's not a markupable PDF. In other words, you can't click on it and be like, fill in this field, fill in this form field. It is literally a PDF that you'd either have to handwrite on or type yourself. I mean, that's my next step would be to do that, right? But for the quickness of this, and it's a really good one, by the way. I read through all the way, top to bottom, made my own changes, because that's another thing is don't trust AI to do it, because it could be speaking on behalf of you in something you wouldn't really subscribe to. You'd be like, that's not how I do it. So I did go through and change a few things. All right. So ChatGPT. This is a pretty comprehensive video. This is one I created about 3 months ago, actually. It's still very relevant, and I wanted to use it because it covers a lot of things. So in this video, actually, this isn't the video. I think this is just the home screen, yeah. But the video we're going to cover, or that I'm going to show you, a lot of the things that I'm showing you in ChatGPT, you can also do in Gemini and Claude, mostly, those two. I just didn't cover it with them because why repeat it, repeat it. They're very similar in many ways. It kind of depends on what your style is and what your preference is. You have to fiddle around with them and see which one you're liking. And if you don't already have an AI, an LLM like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, fiddle around with them before you pay the high. If you're going pro on any of them, it's only $20 a month. I mean, the amount of power you get for $20 is amazing. That's pretty much the same for all of them. All right, and then before I show you the video, let's just take a look. So if you want it, ChatGPT is chat.openai.com. And the main things it can do is writing, of course, coding help and debugging. It can do image and it can do video generation. And again, and recurring task automation, I'll show you that too. Again, so can Gemini, but the Gemini, you can do image generation with the Pro version, but if you want to do the video in Gemini, which is VO3, which is amazing, and I mean, we'll talk about it, but so that would be an extra cost through Gemini. They make you pay a little more for leveling up in that way. All right, so let's take a look at ChatGPT and what it can do for us. So when you have your ChatGPT account, all of your chats are saved under this area right here. You can open and close it. This is for a new chat, and when you click that, this is what's going to pop up. So that's your chat box. And if you want to do a search on previous chats that you've done, you just click the magnifying glass, type in. So I'm going to put SCORE Women in Business before we changed it, the name. That's what we were, Women in Business. Now we're Winning in Business. But in any case, I can see all of the chats that I did for that if I was looking for something. ChatGPT has projects. Again, the other ones call it by a different name. You can, it's basically like a folder in a way. I mean, they're not exactly the same. Like Gemini versus Claude is not the same as ChatGPT projects. So again, see what works better for you. So I create a project. This one is social media post ideas, and every chat that I do up here is going to show up down here. So 3 months ago, I only had 2 chats in this one. Now I have a whole lot. I have different projects with a whole lot of grouped chats. Here under the Explore GPTs, so this is unique to ChatGPT. You can create your own GPT and share it with the world if you want. And some of the ones that are here, so here, for example, I'm going to look for, I want to learn Spanish. So I type in, help me learn Spanish. And I want to see if there's any GPTs that are already made to do that. Yep, here's 3 of them right here. Now, these were made by the community, probably, although OpenAI does do some themselves too. They make some of these themselves, but, and these, you see 6 of them, but you click see more right here and you'll get like just a whole slew of them. So I always find it more helpful to search. That being said, I don't spend a lot of time in here, to be honest. If you do make a GPT yourself, you can save them. So I did make one a while back just for me to see how they work and saved it. And I trained it with something. I can't remember, it was a little while ago, but it worked well. If you want to do a temporary chat and not have it show up in the left over there, where all your chats are, the temporary chats won't show up. So that's good and bad. In a way, it's a nice way to keep your chat thing clear, but sometimes you'll be like, oh no, I forgot. I don't get it and I need it. All right, so if you want to do a search with ChatGPT, you can just say to it, search the internet. But if you want, you can also just click the search button there and tell me the latest advancements in AI video creation. This is what I'm going to ask it with this search. And it's going to go out to the internet, right, and give me all the latest advancements in, AI image generation or video generation, actually, is what I asked for. And then it also is including a video to show me how to do it. So up here under your profile picture, if you choose settings, you can modify some things more specifically. Go through, a lot of the stuff is super self-explanatory. Just kind of read through and see what makes sense for you. I will say that under personalization, this is where you tell it to not remember anything you talk to it about. So if you turn that off, you won't have a chat history and you can't go back to it. But if you're concerned about it getting your information or anything, you can do that. Speech, you can change it to if you use speech and you let it talk to you, you can change the voice if you care about that. And then again, just kind of go through and see all the different things that you can add some links. You can make sure your email's correct. You can connect different apps. I could connect Google Drive to this too, but it doesn't work like Gemini does. You can change some security stuff, and you can modify your subscription. If I wanted to manage and not have Plus anymore, I could do it there. All right, so here again in the chat box area, if I want to do an image, I can click image, or I can just tell it. A lot of times I don't click the image. I just say make an image. But in this case, image, I'm asking for a sheepdog with a big pink bow. Takes a little longer than that. I sped it up, but there's my sheepdog. And now I'm going back to the chat box and I'm going to say create an image of another dog. This time I want a blue bow. And sure enough, pops out a dog with two blue bows. And so I could revise it if I wanted and say, no, I only want one. So now I'm going into Canvas and I just want to pause and say this would have been a good time for me to start a new chat because what I'm going to go into in Canvas has nothing to do with dogs and bows. And yet here we are, right? But that's okay. It's still understood. So I asked it to write an article about 5 things to do when visiting Arizona. So it opens up the canvas. You have the conversation over here with the AI. You have the article over here. So I'm going to make some changes. I say to it, change this section to Flagstaff instead of Sedona. So it looks at that and it makes the change. Over here on the left, it tells me it made the change. Over on the right, it did it. So right here, again, I highlight. I'm going to ask ChatGPT, hey, have this text describe Flagstaff, because I didn't even realize, like I changed the title, but I didn't change the body copy of this section. So it goes through, it reads like it looks at the fabrication of how it was done, and then it writes it in a similar, so it's going to give me 5 paragraphs when I'm only replacing one. And speaking of that, I say break this one into 2 paragraphs. And so it's going to analyze it and say, all right, here's where we can break it. So that's great. I wish I would have showed you, but you'll see how you can, when I click this and it says ask, I can also go over and it said like bold, italics. I can do stuff like that too. Here I'm just asking it to change one of the words. So instead of luxury, adventure, and whatever it was, it changed it to outdoor. And then I can close that, but it'll still show up in my chat. And if I want to reopen it when I'm in that chat, I just click that expander. I know I'm going fast, you guys, on this, but I'm trying to pack a lot of things in. So that just showed me expanding it and unexpanding it, whatever, within the chat. Now back over to your profile picture. If you go under customize ChatGPT, you can also tune it to you a little bit better. So if I didn't want it to call me Terry, I could have it call me something else. I could be more specific in what I do. It knows me by now. It knows me better than I do, I tell you. What traits, should ChatGPT have? I could do all that. What else does it need to know about you? And then all of these ChatGPT capabilities could be turned on and off. Now, this is really important if you're new. You can do that and it's helpful. I've used it so much that it knows me, so I don't. All right, let's talk about images. I uploaded this image and I'm showing it big just so you can see, because I want you to see that it's a route around the United States. That's what it looks like when I upload it, just a tiny little image. So I uploaded it and then I'm going to say, review the map I uploaded. If I traveled the full length of the red line, how many miles would that be? And so I go ahead and click. As soon as I clicked enter, I'm like, it's not a red line, it's a blue line. But it didn't matter because ChatGPT understood and said, basically, based on, what you're doing here, 13,000 to 14,000 miles if driven in its entirety. Then I could ask it follow-up questions if I wanted to and so on. So, okay, we're going to do another search. And this time I'm going to ask it to make a list of the top 5 video creation tools. And I don't remember why I did this one other than to show you how you can look further. So, for example, here's, according to it, the top 5 tools. I could click on the source for it if I wanted to and look at the actual documentation. So pretty much you can tell that's the same as the other ones also. And that was ChatGPT in a very fast nutshell. Now, I'm only going to show you one other thing with ChatGPT, because we all do a lot of social media. So here's a fun way to have it help you with social media. So hypothetically, I say I own a bakery. I want to create 10 different unique posts that I can schedule on Instagram this month. Please give me ideas of what I can do and what the wording would be. So I want to keep everything brief. Show me what you got. So right away, it comes up with my ideas, or its ideas for me. I could do behind the scenes baking, a daily special, customer appreciation. And it tells me, like, here's an example what the photo should be. Here's an example what the caption should be. Here are your hashtags, because that's what I asked it to do, right? So I go through and I'm looking at all the rest of them. And I decide I'd like to do I'd like to do a post about our upcoming blueberry pie specials. We don't have any, so please create an image for me. I want the image ratio to be 1:1 because I could that's a square, or I could tell it a different ratio. Show the pie from a view looking down on it. Show intricately designed on top, have the blueberries surrounding it. The pie is sitting atop a gingham tablecloth. So I was trying to read that real fast because I want to show you it did all the things, right? It gave me the intricacy I asked for. It gave me the blueberries surrounding the pie. It did it from a view that I asked for, an overhead view, and it's on the gingham tablecloth. So that's pretty cool. And if I didn't like it, I could just go in and ask it then for a revision, right? Instead of I could take it into other AI programs, but I could click on this and get a revision on it. So basically, guys, that is it. I'm sliding in with 9 minutes to spare. I do have some homework for you guys that I hope that you might consider doing that I found helpful, I think. So grab a prompt and do it the same. So here's, for example, what a prompt might be. So you might say, write a short, friendly product description for a gourmet cupcake, that is lemon and lavender. Like, you give it all the details and then say, make it sound appealing, but like not too flowery, whatever. So you write your prompt as detailed as you can, give it to all 4 of them and see how that works. Now you could skip Perplexity because honestly it'll give it to you back, but it's not necessarily designed to be a writing tool. Although out of curiosity, I would do it just to see what it gives back to you, because it's not going to be bad. You don't need 4 accounts. You can just try without signing up. And then I would recommend that you do eventually have 2 LLMs, one which is your main one. And the reason you want that is, for me, I like that it knows me. I like that I can say, based on everything you know about me and the projects we've worked on, devise, it's like having an assistant that I don't have to keep saying over and over, let me remind you of what I do. It just knows, right? So pick one to be your main one and then pick another one for backup. It's just, I hardly ever use another one for backup, but from time to time, like, I don't run out of, all day long I'm on it, and I'd never hit a limit on ChatGPT. But I do sometimes want it worded different. Sometimes I get frustrated maybe, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but you're not answering me correctly. So then I'll go to another one. So that's helpful. And then another thing you can do is, one of the first prompts you can say is, hey, here's what my company does. Here's what I do. Here's who my clients are. Give it all the information. And then you can ask it, what can you do for me? How can you help? What things can we work on together? And you will get a ton of ideas. So that's super helpful. Another thing you could do, if you have, a website where we're trying to convert people into sales, right? You're trying to convert your leads into sales. So let's say someone lands on your website. How good is that wording? Is it good? Do you feel good about it? I tell you, so many times I've put together, say, an email or something, and I'm like, that is so good. Like, primo, I really am happy with my words. And I'll put it in ChatGPT just to be like, what do you think? You know, and it'll come back. And a lot of times it will say, things, this is great, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it'll come back and it'll be something I never even thought of. And I'm like, oh, yeah, actually, that does it so much better. So, same thing with selling. You think that you've got the best wording on your website, but what you don't realize is it's great wording for description, but not for conversion. So you say to ChatGPT or whichever LLM you're using, is my sales page on my website actually helping convert or not? To get some information on that. And then, download an LLM app on your phone. You'll use it all the time. I mean, I use mine on my phone all the time. At the grocery store recently, I used it. I was like, why is this? I wanted to buy, it was just a grocery product, food, and I wanted to buy one or the other, but literally this one was twice as much as this one. So I couldn't tell why. So I took a picture of the back of both of them, uploaded, and said, what's the difference? Why am I paying more for one, not the other? And which one's healthier? That's really what my concern was. So actually, it came back and said the cheaper one was healthier, and there was really no significant difference. So super fun. And then next month, that's what we're going to cover, AI video tools, which is exciting. And yeah, all right. So that's it for me. I am going to open it up for questions. If you guys have any questions, please hand raise or just, there are only 9 of us. So Mary, you have a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask.
I
And then
have
after
multiple
you, Mary,
questions,
Cynthia.
Terry. I kept typing them in, and so I wouldn't interrupt you. Let me see if I can get some of them. I'm sure you have super quick answers. Okay, so the 24-hour limitation, is that just for chat, or is that for all the 4 we looked at today? And then if you don't sign in as an account, then could you get another session later when you do sign in? I mean, how does that work?
Okay, so your first question about the limitations is different for each one. And I had mentioned the limitation on Gemini because I ran into it so fast. First of all, I don't use Gemini that much, and I've never actually ran into it previously. And maybe they didn't have limits because I literally haven't used it until recently. I started using it again, part for this and part just because they've had some amazing things come out. So now I'm using it more, and then I'm like, oh, y'all are kind of stingy though before you. So that was for Gemini. Now ChatGPT I can't speak to because I'm on the paid plan, so I never run into a limitation. Other people might not be on paid, might have some input for you there. So you kind of have to experiment with that to see what walls you run into. But as far as like, so you do a session in it and you don't log in, it, unless you're doing an incognito window, it probably is tracking that. But I don't know that answer because I've not, again, I haven't experimented with it, but I have thought of that question. Actually, literally thought, well, if I'm not in an incognito window, I can see how it can understand how much time I've spent on it just because of cookies and, all the tracking data. But if I'm in a hidden window, private window, how does it work? So I don't know. You'll have to explore that. But
Okay. And you would turn the private window on before you start using the tool?
yeah, right.
Okay.
You'd open
Okay.
a private window, then you'd
Got
navigate
it.
there, and then you do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then related to this, I wanted to ask you, so like you gave us homework last week. I did it. I don't know if we're going to go over it or ask questions or anything, but I did it. But I didn't ask the question that you had as the example. I catered it more to my needs, which I don't know if that's what you intended us to do,
Which is
but I
fine.
was
No,
trying.
anything
Yeah.
that benefits you
But
and your objective, sure.
okay, but my question is, if we all ask chat the same question that was on your homework, would we all get the same answer?
No. 100%
would
you would
not.
not get the same answer. No.
Oh,
And
based on
so
our own personality or past history with using the tool.
partly that, but
Yeah.
partly also because it's not, things can be said differently every time they're said, kind of thing. It's not going to tell you, it might tell you the
Well,
same
I mean, if we
answer, but in a
pasted that
different,
exact question in, I mean,
it's not going to give you a verbatim back
okay,
exactly the same
okay,
as everyone else. Yeah, it'll be
okay,
different.
okay.
For sure.
All right. I'll let someone else ask a question, but I would
Okay.
like to come back.
Thanks,
Okay.
Mary. Somebody else did have a question. I don't remember who popped up.
I had one.
Anna, right? Was it? No, it's not Anna. Who was it?
Cynthia.
Cynthia. That's right. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for coming.
Hello. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing with us today. I am grateful.
Sure.
Are
Pleasure.
you able to demonstrate how you can create consistent characters doing different things?
You're in week 3.
Was that week 3?
Not week
That's
3. I have to quit saying that because, I'm doing this every other week because even though I know this information, I don't have it built out into a course. So between now and then, now and 2 weeks from now, I take all this knowledge on AI video tools and I put it in a presentable fashion for you guys. But yeah, one of the things I'm super excited about
okay.
is that. But yeah, that's a different session. It's not this one.
Okay. Are you using Manus to create your presentations? I'm just curious.
To create these presentations?
Mhm.
No,
Okay.
I'm not using that. I'm using, I mean, you're talking about what I'm showing you right now in the different videos and stuff? Is that what you're
Right.
asking?
Like your presentation today.
I'm using Keynote because I'm on a Mac. So Keynote for holding the slides, and then I'm using CapCut for, I do a screen recording of things, and then I pull all my screen recordings into CapCut and edit so that I can show you really quickly, and that's why I'm like, I know it's a lot. I'm just like yapping away really fast, but it's the only way to really give you a lot of value in this hour instead of like trying to show you on the fly. But that's what I do. I'll do it in CapCut mostly. I'm not in love with CapCut. I mean, I am in love with CapCut, actually. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that though.
So when you do the AI videos, there's a couple that I was curious about. Opus to take long form, just your, I guess, your thoughts on that when it comes to that. And then I know Hey Jen is up and coming for doing kind of like post shorts, reels. And then
Well,
there's
I've covered Hey Jen before. I don't know if I'll cover it again, only because to me, some of the more exciting things that are happening are not happening in that space. Although I haven't,
Hedra.
well, I haven't finished the sentence, gone back to Hey Jen and seen, because, everybody does these iterations so fast. Like,
Mm.
so last time I looked at Hey Jen was probably back in March, and I did a presentation including it. And the one you talked about, Opus, I think, for making long form videos into shorter clips. I don't use that one. I use another one that's very similar to that. It's called Vidyo, Vidyo, Vidyo. I haven't checked in with them either for a while, but like I say, all of the stuff will be compiled. Yeah, and I might not be using the tools that you're identifying or not, and only because, and I mean, I feel like I know what you're talking about. I know these programs, even though there's a zillion of them out there, but I'm going to try and show you the ones that I think are even either giving you a solid value for, it's not the value, it's not that they have to be for free or anything. But my point is, a lot of these things, if you're paying for Gemini or if you're paying for ChatGPT, we are going to explore what they do already. And they're pretty sophisticated. And then we'll go into some of these other ones. So you understand the other, like Hey Jen, or the other ones you're talking about, the underlying image or engine is ChatGPT or some other LLM, right? It is just the facade. It's just the layer that goes over it. Not just the facade that makes it sound like it's hiding something, but basically HeyGen is set up in a way that talks to the LLM that says, hey, we're doing videos here. This is what we're doing. Here's how long, here's that. So it gives all the parameters, and it basically is doing the hardcore prompt directing in the background, but the engine is ChatGPT or Claude or whatever big LLM is running it. Does that make sense? So sometimes I'll say, hey, if they're already doing it, don't go to another product. And
Right.
unless that other product is so fine-tuned that it just makes it a lot easier to
Yeah,
do.
I definitely appreciate that thought. It's like, I don't want another tool. I
Yeah, I
just
know. Whoa.
work with this one. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Appreciate the question. Does anybody else have any questions? I think there's just 8 of us here. Not even 8, because one of them's probably Fathom and me. There's 6 of you. So if you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. And Mary, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, did anyone else notice that a few weeks ago, if you have Google Chrome as your browser, it said, hey, we can give you more of your answers in AI format than just, I mean, before it said that, it was usually giving the first response in an AI summary, and then all the other resources like Google would normally do. And but now there's some other option, and I haven't elected it yet. I just wondered if you could
I
address
do.
that.
I love it.
What
I
does
don't.
that do? And then again, the question of Big Brother watching you, I mean, then that really is going to track everything and keep it all out there.
See that right there, the interesting thing that you're saying is the misunderstanding that just because it's through AI, it's somehow different kind of data. Your searches are all out there already. Your everything,
Yeah, because they're in the history. I use
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So it just feels more personal here, but it's not. It's just a different way of navigating the data. But what Google is doing now in the Chrome browser or any browser, actually, um, it gives you the AI summary, and then you can continue interacting with the AI. So you could choose the button and say, and you refine it just like you would in ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. So you ask the question in Chrome, and Google gives you its AI conjured output. And instead of just taking that for is, you can ask it a question back, right? And you don't have to re-give it the context. You just click and ask it, okay, what you said, but what about this, right?
Okay, so where do you ask your second and third questions? In the search engine, search bar, like you do
No.
the first? No.
At the bottom of
You
when you're
start
looking,
engaging with that AI response.
right, when you're looking at the AI
Okay.
response at the bottom of it,
But then are
there'll
you
be
going to run
something.
into the 24-hour? I mean, that
No,
happens. Okay, so
because that's
that's where you
separate.
can go further then with a free without
Sure.
paying.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you're just doing searching type of stuff, yeah.
Okay, but that's just searching and not really writing
Right,
things
right.
like Gemini was doing, because you said Gemini was Google's product.
Right. Okay.
So
So understand that Gemini is a vast product of a vast amount of things it can do. And when you're searching Google, it's only doing that task of searching. You don't have the capability of the whole tool to use within Google search. You only have the search capability, but it's
okay.
powered by Gemini.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
So, and then to answer you guys, and again, and I so appreciate you all, I have to say, and I really appreciate the people who keep coming. Um, this is a work in progress. So one of the things I had been wanting to do, and I have the capability to do, I just haven't had the time to put it all together, is the availability for us if we wanted to, you can access these sessions within a classroom, and you can share your customer persona that you built with everyone, and we could interact and chat amongst ourselves or whatever. So I don't have that availability yet as far as actually doing it. maybe by the end of this, it'll be done, and then it'll be, something you can, if I can, I'll probably continue doing these and refining them as we go along. So you're like my class number one. That's why I really feel fondly to you guys. Um, but in any case, I do like that you're doing the homework, because I feel that the homework it helps you not just learn, I mean, not just like cognitive, you watch it, but you don't do it and then it goes away, right? You have to actually do it. And it's a way of forcing yourself to do it with easy, pointed, simple things to get you started. So even though we're not looking at it all, um, please do it. I think it's really helpful for you. Thanks again, you guys. I can't see your smiling faces because this doesn't show it to me right now. So, but I do want to thank you for sure. And we'll see you in 2 weeks then for AI video tools. And in the meantime, if you guys, get really stuck, then feel free to reach out to me or ask ChatGPT. But you guys have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, and we will see you in a couple weeks.